The city was loud and bright, but in the corner of its shining streets lived a man nobody noticed. His name was John. Once long ago he had a house, a family, and dreams. Now he had only a torn blanket, an old jacket, and a small cardboard shelter under a broken streetlight. People walked past him every day. Some looked away, some pretended he was invisible. To them he was just another homeless man, another shadow in the city. But John still breathed, still hoped, even if that hope was weak and tired. The nights were the hardest. Cold air cut through his thin clothes and hunger growled inside his empty stomach. He often sat awake staring at the sky. Stars twinkled above the tall buildings far away, untouchable. He used to wonder if life was kinder out there among the stars. Sometimes he whispered to himself, "If only someone out there could see me, maybe they would understand." But nobody answered, or at least that's what he thought. One night, as the city slept and only a few cars moved through the wet streets, John heard something strange. It wasn't the sound of rats or the usual crash of bottles in the alley. It was different. A sharp hiss like metal tearing. Then a heavy thud. He froze, his heart raced. He thought maybe it was some gang fight or maybe someone dropping junk. But then came another sound, a low groan. Not human, not animal. Something else. Curiosity fought with fear inside him. He had learned long ago that getting involved could mean trouble. Still, the sound was close, too close to ignore. Slowly, John stood up, wrapping his blanket tighter around himself. He moved through the dark alley, stepping carefully over broken glass and trash. The sound grew louder, breathing, but rough, as if something was fighting to stay alive. Then he saw it. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks. Lying on the ground was a figure, tall but curled up in pain. Its skin shimmered faintly under the dim streetlight. Not like human skin. It was smooth, with a strange blue glow running through veins that weren't like veins at all. They pulsed like light trapped in glass. The being's chest rose and fell with effort, each breath heavy. Blood, but not red, dripped onto the ground, glowing drops that hissed when they touched the cold pavement. John stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat. Every instinct told him to run. This was no drunk man, no injured stranger. This was something else, something not from here. His mind screamed, "It can't be real. This isn't real." Yet the groan came again, soft but full of pain. And in that sound, John heard something familiar. It was the sound of suffering, of weakness, of being forgotten. He had heard it in his own voice too many times. The figure tried to lift its head. Its eyes opened, large, glowing, faint silver, reflecting pain and fear. The alien, because there was no other word for it, looked directly at him. Its mouth moved and a broken whisper escaped, "Help." "Please," John froze. He didn't understand how, but the voice was clear in his mind. Maybe it wasn't speaking with its mouth. Maybe it was something else, something deeper. For a moment he wanted to turn and run, to hide and pretend he had seen nothing. But then memories came flooding back. The nights he had begged for food and been ignored. The days he had asked for kindness and found none. Now here was a being, lost and bleeding, asking him for the very thing he once needed. His hands shook. He whispered almost to himself, "Why me? Why now?" The alien's hand reached out weakly, its fingers long and thin, trembling. The sight pierced John's heart. He couldn't walk away. Not this time. He stepped closer, against every warning in his mind. He pulled the alien's arm gently over his shoulder, surprised at how heavy and fragile it felt at the same time. With effort, he dragged the being toward his little shelter under the broken streetlight. Every step felt dangerous. What if someone saw him? What if the police came? What if this creature was dangerous itself? But he pushed those thoughts aside. The alien's breathing grew weaker, and John knew he had no choice. By the time he laid the stranger down on his blanket, his own body shook with exhaustion. He knelt beside it, staring, unsure of what to do. The alien's silver eyes blinked slowly, then closed, but not before whispering one last word. Hunted. John's heart pounded louder than the city outside. Hunted? By who? By what? He looked around the shadows, suddenly aware of how exposed they were. The street seemed empty, but he felt watched. Something about the night had changed. Somewhere out there, unseen eyes might already be searching. For the first time in years, John didn't think about his hunger or his cold. For the first time, his life felt bigger than himself. He was no longer just a forgotten man. He was holding a secret, one that could change everything. The stars he once whispered to had finally answered, but their answer came bleeding into his arms. And in that dark corner of the city, John had no idea that by choosing to help this stranger, he had just stepped into a story that would echo far beyond Earth. The night was colder now, but John did not notice the chill anymore. He sat close to the strange figure lying on his torn blanket, staring at it with wide eyes. The alien's breathing was shallow, each rise and fall of its chest weaker than before. Its glowing blood stained the blanket, glowing softly like tiny stars had spilled on the ground. John pressed his hands against the wounds, trying to stop the flow, though he had no idea if his touch could even help. The word hunted echoed in his mind again and again. Hunted? By who? Why? John's heart raced with fear. If someone or something was after this alien, then he was in the middle of a danger far greater than any street fight or police patrol. For a moment, the old instinct came back. Run. Leave. Forget you ever saw this thing. He could disappear into another alley, go back to being invisible. Nobody would ever know. But then he looked at the alien's face again. Its silver eyes flickered open, cloudy with pain, and it whispered once more, "Help. Human." John felt his chest tighten. The plea was faint but real. He had begged for help so many times in his own life, and people had walked past as if he were not even alive. And now this being, strange and unknown, was doing the same, begging him not to walk away. He swallowed hard, whispering, "All right. I'll help. I don't know how, but I'll try." The alien's lips moved, forming strange sounds. For a moment, John thought he couldn't understand. But slowly, as if the words were shaping themselves inside his mind, he caught the meaning. Crystal. Broken. Without it, I die. John frowned. Crystal? What crystal? The alien's trembling hand reached toward a small metal pouch tied around its waist. With effort, it pulled out a cracked shard. Even broken, it glowed faintly, pulsing like a heart. The light inside it flickered, weak and fading. This life, the alien gasped, without energy. And John stared at the shard. He had nothing. No tools, no power, not even food. How could he possibly fix this? Yet when he looked back into the alien's fading eyes, he felt something stir inside him. A choice was forming. Either he could step back into the shadows and pretend this never happened, or he could take the risk and do something. He rubbed his face with shaking hands. "If I do this," he muttered softly, "I might die too. But if I don't, you'll die for sure." Before he could think further, a sudden noise snapped his head up. Footsteps. Heavy, measured. Not the careless steps of drunks or the hurried steps of city workers. These footsteps had purpose. John's breath caught in his throat. From the mouth of the alley, he saw shadows moving. Tall figures dressed in long dark coats, faces hidden under metallic masks. Their eyes glowed faint red like tiny embers. They scanned the streets with strange devices that hummed quietly. John pressed his back against the wall, pulling the alien closer under the cover of his shelter. His heart pounded so loud he was sure they could hear it. One of the figures spoke in a harsh metallic voice. "Target injured." Life signal detected nearby. Another answered, "The human sector is unclean. If he is here, the human who helps him will suffer the same fate." John's body froze. Human who helps him? They were talking about him. The masked figures moved deeper into the alley, scanning. A red beam of light passed across trash cans, walls, even the ground near John's blanket. He held his breath, pressing the alien closer to him, hiding its glowing skin under his jacket. His mind screamed, "Stay quiet. Don't move." The beam lingered on his shelter for a moment. John's heart stopped. But then, as if the device failed to catch the weak glow, the figures moved on. Their footsteps echoed until they faded into the distance. John exhaled slowly, his body trembling. The alien coughed weakly, whispering, "Enforcers, law, cruel." John whispered back, "They'll kill me if I help you." The alien's silver eyes locked on his. "Yes," it said faintly, "but kindness, stronger than law." John sat there in silence, the weight of the choice pressing on him. He could still leave. He could still abandon this stranger and save himself. That was the safe path. That was the path most people would take. But as he looked at the alien, broken, bleeding, trembling, he thought of his own life. He had been abandoned once. He knew the pain of being left behind, and something deep in his soul refused to do the same to another, no matter what form it took. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "No, I won't leave you. I won't be like them." Slowly, he picked up the glowing shard, holding it tightly. He didn't know how, but he swore he would find a way to save this creature. He would not let it die under the same cold sky that had forgotten him. In that moment, the homeless man made his choice. A choice in the shadows. And though he did not know it yet, that single choice would change not only his life, but the fate of worlds. John sat in silence, staring at the broken crystal glowing faintly in his palm. The light inside flickered like a dying candle, weak and unstable. The alien's words repeated in his head. Without it, I die. The city outside went on as usual. Cars rolled past, music echoed from a nearby bar, and people laughed under the streetlights. Nobody knew. Nobody cared that only a few steps away, under a broken lamp and a cardboard roof, something impossible was happening. A man who had nothing was now the last hope of a being not from this world. The alien's breathing grew weaker. John leaned close, unsure what to do. "Stay with me," he whispered. His voice trembled, though he tried to sound steady. "Don't close your eyes, just stay alive." The alien tried to answer, but only a rough cough came out, glowing blood staining its lips. John tore a strip of cloth from his own jacket and pressed it against the wounds. He had no bandages, no medicine, only scraps. Yet his hands worked quickly, driven by desperation. For the first time in years, John felt like what he did mattered. The alien stirred, lifting its trembling hand toward him. A strange warmth flowed from its touch, not burning but steadying, like a calm light entering John's chest. Then the alien's broken voice whispered in his mind, "Your kindness echoes, do not fear." John blinked, startled. The voice was not through ears, but inside his head. He stared at the alien, unable to speak for a moment. Then he muttered almost to himself, "Kindness doesn't keep you warm at night. Kindness doesn't fill your stomach." But still, he kept pressing the cloth against the wound. Minutes passed. The alien's eyes half closed, but it was still alive. John looked at the broken crystal again. Its glow pulsed faintly as if it was reaching for something. He remembered the alien's words. Energy. John thought of the power plant near the river, the place where he sometimes warmed his hands on the vents outside. Could he somehow give this shard the energy it needed? It sounded insane, but what wasn't insane about this night? As he sat thinking, another sound pierced the night, soft at first, then louder. A low hum, mechanical and sharp. John's blood turned cold. He peeked from his shelter. At the far end of the street, strange flying machines hovered in the air, their lights scanning the ground. Drones unlike anything he had ever seen. They moved slowly, methodically, searching. The alien's silver eyes flickered open. With effort, it whispered, "Enforcers. Search. Closer." John's chest tightened. The choice he had made in the shadows was now heavier than ever. If they found him with the alien, he would be killed. No doubt about it. He glanced at the alley mouth again, the red lights of the drones glowing brighter as they approached. He leaned closer to the alien. "We can't stay here," he said firmly. "If they find us, we're finished." The alien nodded faintly. Hide or run, John thought quickly. Hiding wouldn't last long. The glowing blood would betray them. Running? He was no athlete, and the alien could barely move. But still, staying was certain death. He pulled the alien's arm over his shoulder again, feeling the heavy weight press against him. "Come on," he whispered. "We'll figure this out." Step by step, he dragged the alien deeper into the alley, away from the scanning lights. His legs shook from the strain, but he didn't stop. Every shadow became a friend, every corner a chance to hide. He ducked behind an old dumpster, waiting as the drone lights passed only a few feet away. The machines hummed, scanning, then floated onward. John let out a shaky breath. "That was close," he muttered. The alien, weak but conscious, whispered, "Human. Brave." John almost laughed, though it came out bitter. Brave? No, just stupid. But maybe stupid is all I've got. When the street was quiet again, John lowered the alien onto a dry patch of ground. The wound still glowed faintly under the cloth, but the bleeding had slowed. He looked at the shard again, its flickering light pulsing like a weak heartbeat. The alien raised its hand and touched the shard. A faint image flashed in John's mind, a memory not his own. He saw a shining world filled with tall spires of light, skies alive with colors Earth had never known, and people like this alien walking proudly under two suns. Then the image broke and the alien gasped in pain. "You're home," John whispered, realizing what he had seen. You came from out there." The alien nodded faintly. "Home, gone, law. Cruel, escape, broken." John stared, his thoughts spinning. Whatever this being was running from, it wasn't just an accident. It was something big, something dangerous. Yet none of that changed the truth in front of him. Without the crystal, the alien would die. John clenched his fist around the shard. "Then I'll get you the energy you need," he said, surprising himself with the strength in his own voice. "I don't care what those things out there are. I don't care what happens to me. You're not dying here. Not tonight." The alien's silver eyes glowed faintly brighter for a moment, as if hope itself had returned. Its whisper came soft but clear. "Your kindness will echo across stars." John did not know what that meant, but in that moment he knew one thing for sure. He had taken the first step. A forgotten man was now a healer, and the night had only just begun. The night pressed heavy on the city. The streets were quiet, but John could feel danger crawling through the shadows. The alien rested weakly against the wall, its glowing wounds hidden under the torn cloth. The broken crystal pulsed faintly in John's pocket, like a ticking clock counting down the alien's life. John wiped sweat from his forehead, even though the air was cold. He had made his choice. He would help. But help came with a price, and that price was already closing in. From the rooftops above, the red eyes of the drones scanned the alleys. Their humming sound was low but constant, like mechanical insects searching for prey. Every few seconds, beams of crimson light swept across the ground, looking for traces of the alien's glowing blood. The alien stirred and whispered, "Enforcers. Near." John tightened his grip on the alien's arm. "I know," he muttered. "I can hear them too." He peeked around the dumpster where they were hiding. At the far end of the street, 3 tall figures appeared. The same ones he had glimpsed before, masked beings in dark coats, their faces hidden by silver helmets with burning red eyes. They moved with slow, steady steps, scanning the ground with strange devices. One of them stopped and raised its head, speaking in a cold, metallic voice. "The trail is fresh. The fugitive bleeds. He is close," another replied. "And the human who helps him will share his fate. The law does not forgive mercy." John's heart froze. They were speaking about him, about the choice he had made. He pressed his back against the dumpster, breathing as quietly as possible. The alien leaned weakly against him, its body trembling, but its silver eyes were calm, as if it had faced such hunters many times before. John whispered sharply, "They'll kill us both if they find us." The alien's reply came faint and broken. "If you run now, maybe live. Leave me." John stared at it, shocked. The alien was offering him a way out. If he abandoned it, he might survive. But deep inside, John knew the truth. If he ran now, he would be no different from all the people who had abandoned him. His chest tightened with anger. "No," he whispered fiercely. "I won't leave you. Not after everything." The enforcer's footsteps grew louder. John's eyes darted around, searching for a way out. The alley stretched long and narrow, walls closing them in. Only one exit past the hunters, unless... Above them, an old fire escape ladder hung from the wall. Rusted, but maybe still strong enough. John stood quickly, pulling the alien to its feet. "We're moving," he whispered. The alien tried to protest, but John cut it off. "You want to live? Then trust me." With a grunt, he pulled the ladder down. It screeched loudly as the metal scraped against the wall. The sound echoed across the alley. John's stomach dropped. The hunters stopped. One of them turned sharply, red eyes glowing brighter. "There!" the metallic voice barked. "He is there." The chase began. John shoved the alien upward, helping it climb the rungs with trembling hands and weak legs. Every second felt like an hour. The hunters' footsteps thundered closer, their glowing weapons lighting the alley red. "Faster!" John hissed, climbing behind the alien. He could hear the machines below, scanning, locking on their position. One of the enforcers raised its weapon. A beam of red energy shot upward, burning through the ladder just below John's foot. Metal cracked and the whole structure shook violently. John's grip nearly slipped. The alien cried out in pain, clinging tightly as sparks rained down. John pushed it higher, climbing with all his strength. "Don't stop," he shouted. "Go!" Another blast struck the wall, showering bricks onto the ground. The enforcers marched forward, their voices cold and merciless. "You cannot escape. The law is absolute. Surrender." John's arms burned with effort as he hauled himself and the alien onto the rooftop. His chest heaved, but he didn't stop. He grabbed the alien under the shoulders and dragged it across the flat surface, ducking behind a large metal vent. Below, the enforcers scanned the roof edges, their red eyes glaring upward. One spoke, "The human aids him. Punishment will be severe. John clenched his fists, his fear mixing with fury. He had been punished his whole life for being poor, for being forgotten, for being nothing. And now these masked monsters wanted to punish him for the one good thing he had ever done. He refused. He leaned close to the alien. "Listen," he whispered. "We can't just keep running. We need a plan. That crystal of yours, if I can find a way to charge it, will it keep you alive?" The alien nodded weakly. "Yes, and with energy." "I rise again." John looked out over the city. In the distance, the glowing towers of the power plant rose into the sky, their lights flickering like beacons. It was risky. It was insane, but it was their only chance. He turned back to the alien, determination in his eyes. "Then that's where we're going. I'll get you what you need, no matter what it takes." The alien's silver eyes softened, glowing faintly brighter. With effort, it whispered, "Your courage will be remembered." John exhaled, preparing himself. The hunters were closing in, their shadows crawling higher up the walls. Time was running out. The forgotten man had chosen once again, not to surrender, not to run away, but to fight for a life that was not his own. And as the red eyes of the enforcers glared through the darkness, John knew the battle was only just beginning. The city never slept, but its silence could be deadly. From the rooftop, John watched the distant towers of the power plant glowing against the dark sky. Tall chimneys released smoke, and blue-white lights blinked like beacons. That was the place, the only place where enough energy might save the alien's life. Beside him, the alien leaned weakly against the vent, its breathing shallow. Its glowing wounds had dulled, but the crystal in John's pocket still pulsed faintly, weaker with every passing minute. Time was slipping away, John whispered more to himself than anyone. "That's where we're going. I don't care what it takes." The alien's silver eyes flickered open. "Dangerous," it murmured. "Guard, machines." "Oh." John gave a short laugh, bitter but brave. "I've lived with danger all my life. The law never cared for me. Why should I care for it now?" He helped the alien to its feet. They moved slowly across the rooftops, ducking low to avoid the searching drones. Every shadow was a hiding place, every sound a threat. Twice John froze as beams of red light scanned dangerously close. Twice he held his breath until the drones moved on. At last they climbed down into the back streets. The city was quieter here, filled with rusting warehouses and broken fences. In the distance, the hum of the power plant grew louder, filling the night air with steady vibration. John stopped in an alley, letting the alien rest. He pulled the crystal from his pocket. Its glow was faint now, barely visible. "We don't have long," he muttered. The alien's voice brushed against his mind again, soft and strained. "Core energy. Must connect. Then crystal lives." "I live," John nodded. He had no idea how to connect a crystal to a power plant, but he would figure it out. He had learned to survive on scraps and trash. This was no different, except the stakes were higher than ever. As they neared the perimeter of the plant, John crouched behind a chain-link fence. Bright lights flooded the yard. Security cameras turned slowly, watching. A pair of guards in heavy uniforms patrolled near the entrance. John's stomach tightened. "Great," he muttered. Because sneaking into a power plant wasn't already impossible. The alien touched his arm, whispering, "Hide." "Wait, I guide." And then something strange happened. The alien's silver eyes glowed faintly, and John felt a soft pressure inside his mind, like a second set of thoughts pressing against his own. He gasped, shaking his head. What are you doing?" The alien's weak voice echoed in his mind. "Sharing sight, together. We see." Images flooded John's mind. The guards' patrol routes, the blind spots in the cameras, the crack in the fence where wires hung loose. It was as if he was looking through another pair of eyes. For the first time, he had a map of their danger. John blinked hard, shaking from the strangeness of it, but also amazed. "All right," he whispered. "We can work with this." They crawled through the broken fence, moving quietly across the gravel. John's heart pounded with every step, but the alien's strange guidance led them past the cameras unseen. When a guard turned suddenly, John pulled the alien behind a stack of metal crates just in time. The guard's flashlight swept across the ground, then moved on. Finally, they reached the back of the plant. A heavy metal door hummed with electricity, wires running thick along its frame. John pressed his hand against it. "If we can get inside, maybe we can plug that crystal into something." The alien nodded faintly. "Core, deeper. Must hurry." John searched the wall, then spotted a small maintenance panel half open. He yanked it wider, revealing a tangle of wires glowing faintly. Sparks jumped when he touched them. His hands shook, but he shoved the crystal against the wires anyway. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shard pulsed, glowing brighter. Energy rushed into it, light flashing stronger and stronger. John's face lit up in the glow. "It's working," he whispered, excitement flooding his chest. But the joy lasted only seconds. Alarms blared suddenly, red lights flashing across the yard. The crystal had triggered something in the system. From inside the plant, mechanical doors slid open. Metal-clad guards poured out, weapons glowing red. Drones swooped down from the sky, their scanners locking on the alley where John and the alien stood. The alien gasped, its voice trembling. "Enforcers coming!" John grabbed the crystal, now glowing with powerful light, and shoved it into the alien's hands. The being's body shuddered as the glow spread across its veins, the wound sealing with faint light. Its eyes snapped open, brighter than before. For the first time since John found it, the alien looked stronger. But the hunters were already here. The enforcers stepped through the red haze of the alarms, their metallic voices booming. "Human interference detected. Lawbreakers will be erased." John's pulse thundered in his ears. He looked at the alien, then at the approaching figures. His choices were gone. No more hiding. No more running. He clenched his fists, whispering fiercely, "Then let's show them what a homeless man can do." The alien stood beside him, crystal glowing brightly in its chest. Its silver eyes locked on John. Together, the enforcers raised their weapons. The battle was about to begin. The alarms screamed across the power plant yard. Red lights spun in every direction, painting the night in warning colors. Drones circled above like vultures, their scanners locking on the two figures standing near the sparking panel. And from the shadows, the enforcers marched forward, tall and merciless, their silver masks glowing with red eyes. John's chest rose and fell in quick bursts. His whole body shook, but not from cold this time. Fear burned in him, but so did something else. A fire he had not felt in years. He had nothing. Yet here he was, standing between hunters and the life of a stranger not even from his world. Beside him, the alien was no longer weak. The glowing crystal pulsed in its chest, streams of blue light running through its veins. Its silver eyes shone bright, steady, and fierce. The wounds had closed, leaving faint scars of light. It still leaned slightly, still fragile, but alive. The enforcers raised their weapons in perfect rhythm. A cold voice boomed, "Human, you have violated galactic law. Mercy is forbidden. You will die beside the fugitive." John swallowed hard. He wanted to scream that he was no lawbreaker, that he was just a man trying to do what was right. But he knew it wouldn't matter. These machines didn't care about words. They only cared about rules. He clenched his fists and muttered, "Guess I'll have to fight without rules." The first blast came fast, a beam of red energy streaking across the yard. John grabbed the alien and dove behind a stack of metal crates. The beam exploded against the steel, sending sparks flying. His ears rang, but he forced himself to focus. The alien raised its hand, and a wave of blue light surged forward, colliding with the next beam. The two forces clashed, crackling in midair before exploding in a shower of sparks. The alien grunted, staggering from the effort. "They're too strong," John whispered. "We can't take them head-on." The alien's voice echoed faintly in his mind. "Your world, your ways, show me." John blinked. His world, his ways? He looked around. He had no weapons, no armor, no training, but he had lived on these streets his whole life. He knew how to survive when the odds were impossible. He knew how to use what was around him. "All right," he whispered fiercely. "We'll fight dirty." He grabbed a loose metal pipe lying on the ground. As another blast of red energy struck the crates, John rolled out from cover and swung the pipe against a glowing wire above. Sparks rained down, short-circuiting a nearby light pole. The sudden burst of light blinded the drones overhead for a second. "Now," John shouted. The alien raised both hands, channeling energy from the crystal. Blue light surged outward in a shockwave, knocking two drones from the sky. They exploded against the pavement in flames. The enforcers advanced without hesitation, their voices like cold knives. Resistance is meaningless. The law is eternal. John ducked as another blast hit the ground near him. He picked up a broken piece of glass and hurled it at one of the enforcers. It shattered harmlessly against its mask, but the distraction was enough. The alien unleashed another wave of light, striking the enforcer square in the chest. The mask cracked, sparks flying as it stumbled back. John felt hope spark in his chest. They could hurt them. They weren't invincible, but the hope was short-lived. More enforcers stepped into the yard, their numbers growing. 10, maybe 12 now. Weapons hummed as they surrounded the two. John's breathing grew heavy. "There's too many," he whispered. "We'll never make it." The alien looked at him, its silver eyes glowing brighter. "Not never. Only once," John frowned. "What does that mean?" The alien placed a glowing hand on his chest. John felt a rush of warmth, flooding his body with strength. His vision sharpened, his heartbeat steadied. He gasped, feeling alive in a way he never had before. The alien spoke softly. "Together." The enforcers charged. John roared, grabbing the metal pipe and swinging it with all his strength. He struck one enforcer's weapon, knocking it off target just as it fired. The beam shot into another enforcer, blasting its mask apart. Sparks flew as it collapsed. The alien unleashed a powerful surge of energy, its crystal glowing so bright it lit the entire yard. The wave ripped through 3 enforcers at once, sending them flying back like broken machines. Still, the hunters kept coming. John ducked, rolled, and used every scrap of instinct he had from years of fighting for scraps on the street. He tripped one enforcer with a loose cable, then smashed its mask with the pipe until sparks exploded. Another tried to grab him, but he shoved it into the sparking panel, frying it with its own electricity. The alien fought beside him, blue light clashing with red beams in a storm of power. Every strike shook the ground. Every explosion lit the night. Finally, only one enforcer remained. Its mask glowed brighter than the rest, its voice colder than death. "You cannot win. The law will find you, always." The alien staggered, almost drained. John stood beside it, panting, gripping the bloody pipe. He stared at the final hunter and growled, "Maybe the law always finds you, but so does humanity, and we don't forgive either." Together, John and the alien unleashed one final strike, pipe and crystal, human and alien. The enforcer was torn apart in a blinding flash, its metallic scream fading into silence, and then there was quiet. The alarms had stopped. The drones were gone. The enforcers were nothing but broken machines scattered across the yard. John collapsed to his knees, chest heaving, the pipe slipping from his hands. The alien knelt beside him, placing a glowing hand on his shoulder. Its voice was soft but steady now. "You fought as one of us, brave." "Beyond law." John gave a weak laugh. "I'm just a homeless man who didn't know when to quit." But deep down he knew this night had changed him. He was no longer invisible. He was no longer forgotten. He had stood against the hunters and won. The power plant yard lay silent at last. Broken machines sparked weakly on the ground, their red eyes gone forever. Smoke drifted through the night air, carrying the scent of metal and ash. John stood in the middle of it all, chest heaving, hands trembling, the broken pipe slipping from his grip. For a long moment he could not believe it. He, a man who had nothing, had just survived a battle against forces from the stars. Around him lay the proof, shattered enforcers and smoking drones. But victory felt strange. He was alive, yes, but his body ached, and his soul still felt heavy with disbelief. Beside him, the alien stood tall again. Its wounds were gone, healed by the crystal's power. Blue veins of light pulsed across its body like flowing rivers. Its silver eyes shone brighter than ever before, calm yet full of something John could not name. Gratitude, perhaps, or sorrow. The alien looked at him, its voice soft but clear. "You chose mercy when law said no. You gave life when all else gave death. That choice will echo far beyond this place." John gave a tired laugh. "I didn't do it for an echo. I did it because you needed help. That's all." The alien tilted its head, studying him as though seeing something deeper. Then it reached into its chest, touching the glowing crystal. Light spread across its hand, forming a small cube. It pulsed faintly, alive with energy. The alien placed the cube gently into John's hands. "Gift," it said. "For kindness. For courage." John frowned, staring at the object. It looked simple, smooth and metallic, but when he touched it, warmth spread through his palm. I don't understand. What is it?" The alien's eyes softened. "Fortune, future, more than gold, more than power. It is possibility." John shook his head. He had slept under broken lamps, begged for scraps, and been invisible his whole life. Fortune was a word meant for others, never for him. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why give this to a man like me?" The alien's voice echoed faintly in his mind. Because no king, no soldier, no law chose mercy. Only you, that is rare, that is priceless. Before John could answer, the alien's body glowed brighter, the crystal pulsing like a star, its silver eyes locked on him one last time. I must go. Hunted still, but this world may need you. The cube will guide. And with that, the alien's body shimmered, light wrapped around it, folding space itself. In a flash of brilliance, it was gone, leaving John alone in the ruined yard, holding the glowing cube. Silence returned. The alarms had stopped. The city beyond the fences carried on, unaware of what had just happened. John sank to the ground, staring at the cube in his hands. Its glow pulsed softly, steady, alive. He whispered, "Fortune, huh? For someone like me?" He walked out of the plant slowly, limping past broken fences and dark alleys. By the time he reached the street, dawn was breaking. Golden light touched the rooftops and the city began to wake. People hurried past him just as they always had. To them, he was still just a homeless man, dirty and tired. Nobody looked twice, but John felt the cube's weight in his pocket, warm and steady, as if reminding him that his story had changed. Later that day, curiosity finally won. He sat under the broken streetlight where he had first found the alien. With trembling hands, he placed the cube on the ground. It glowed brighter, then shifted, reshaping itself into patterns of light. Symbols floated above it, strange but beautiful. Then the cube transformed again into a stack of shimmering metal bars, glowing with alien markings. John's eyes widened. He didn't know the language, but he understood the meaning. This was wealth, more wealth than he could imagine. Not just money, something far beyond human value. With this, he could buy houses, food, clothes. He could live like a king. His breath caught. For a man who once begged for scraps, this was everything he had ever dreamed of.
Yet as he stared at the shining fortune, another thought crept into his mind.
He remembered the alien's words. Possibility. This was more than riches. It was a chance to be more than invisible, a chance to make a difference. John sat back, running his hands over his tired face. He could take it all for himself, disappear into a life of comfort. Or he could use it for something greater, to help others who were forgotten just as he had been. He whispered to the empty street, "I only wanted to help, not to be rewarded." The cube pulsed in reply as if it understood. John stood, sliding the glowing fortune back into his pocket. The world still saw him as nothing, but he knew better now. A forgotten man had saved a life from the stars, and in return, he held a key that could change the future of Earth itself. As the sun rose higher, John walked forward, no longer with the shuffle of a broken man, but with the steady steps of someone who finally carried purpose. Somewhere out there, across galaxies, his kindness had already echoed, and on Earth, his story was only beginning.